For the very first time, welcome to the Sibling Ting podcast. Come on, let's introduce. First of all, with me being the youngest, I choose to go last personally.
Oh, that's so kind of you.
So we're going to introduce my lovely sister first. Please go
Okay.
first.
I'm the oldest sister. My name is Charlie. I am the most sport fanatic. So, yep, I'll be going with there.
Alright, I'm Carter. I am the middle child. And I will doing combat sports, boxing, UFC.
And I am Jesse. I will be doing the sports that require alcohol and the most entertaining, which is football and darts. So, I'm going to pass this on to my lovely sister again because I am, again, not the motorsport expert, but she wanted to start this podcast by saying a catchphrase.
Well, it's a catchphrase that includes me and you, to be fair.
Does it?
Yeah, because it's lights out and podcast on.
Referring to, this is where the humour of the Sibling Ting podcast will come.
Jesse, what is the actual saying in motorsports? I would like you to say.
Oh, we're starting out like that. Is it? Wait, I know this.
No chance.
Lights out and away we go.
Well,
yeah.
Come on!
Well,
So, I believe
Carter's going first.
would like to start this.
yeah, absolutely. So we've got a boxing match coming up this Saturday. The main card being Derek Chisora versus Otto Wallin. Unfortunately, there's not a whole bunch of many known famous boxers on the undercards. But with it being Derek Chisora as the main card, you do not need any more. He is one of the most entertaining boxers there. Not because of his actual boxing ability. It's not very good. He's got 13 losses on. He's got...
Not for the reason he's there. His job. He's not there for his job.
No,
as we
of course
say.
not. I mean, he's had 48 wins. He's got 48 fights, 35 wins and 13 losses. It's not a good scorecard. It's not a good record. But he is one of the most entertaining boxers. And he will always give his opponent a Five Guys afterwards. It's like his thing.
A Five Guys?
A Five Guys.
Is in the food, Five Guys.
Is in the food, yeah. When he fought
Weird.
Alexander Usyk understood so it's like burger or Five Guys, and he said, "Oh, here you are," and he was just learning English and stuff, and he goes, "Oh, here's a burger, Five Guys," and Alexander Usyk goes, "Burger! Oh wow!" And he absolutely loved it. It's his signature thing. As soon as Derek Chisora finishes a fight, he'll go back, whether he loses, whether he wins. He'll go back and give his opponent a Five Guys.
I just don't understand why Five Guys is the go-to meal for a boxer. Like, surely pizza, bit of carbs. Five Guys as well is
he actually
really
said to
expensive.
Joe Joyce when he fought him. Joe Joyce was apparently disrespectful to Derek Chisora, and he said, "I'm not giving you a Five Guys. You're getting Chinese." So he gave him Chinese instead.
Hang on, I'm so sorry, but no. Chinese is not the next one down. Chinese is class.
Yeah, well, not to Derek Chisora.
Okay.
So to sum up our first 3 minutes of this sports podcast,
we've discussed
fast food. I think.
Well, to say whoever's going to win, it's hard to say. Derek Chisora has fought all the greats of this generation, and even some of the old. But his opponent has 2 losses, 27 wins. The chances of him losing to Derek Chisora are quite slim. But you never know with Derek. He can come out in like the last few rounds and just fight like nothing before.
I would
just
like
to be clear, so what is your prediction?
Points Otto Wallin.
Okay,
Which is horrible for me to say. So I don't want to say it in any way. But next up after that, we'll talk about UFC because the actual main boxing I want to talk about is ahead of UFC. Coming up on Sunday is UFC 312, and it's Sean Strickland and Dricus Duplessis main card. Sean Strickland is known for being very outspoken, very
bit of a dick.
Yeah, quite harsh with how he speaks about certain things. So I have no problem with watching Sean Strickland lose, personally. And his opponent has less losses, which in UFC matters more than it does in boxing. So it's hard to say, but Sean is a very good fighter, so it's hard to say.
I wouldn't even say he's very good.
He's
got that very
Adesanya.
famous. Yeah, he's got that very famous win against him.
Happy to fight Alex Pereira.
I think that's all talk. I believe that's all talk.
But it's hard to go against it. But he did beat Israel Adesanya, so that's enough. He is good enough. So it's going to be an interesting one. But the main one for boxing I want to talk about is February 22nd. February 22nd, we have got the main card being Arthur Beterbiev versus Bivol. It's their rematch for the undisputed light heavyweight boxing fight of the world. This will unify all 4 light heavyweight championships, which I'm pretty sure only 1 or 2 other people have ever been a unified undisputed champion, and this will be undisputed. They already had the first fight, which Beterbiev won in a controversial points win. Before the fight, Beterbiev had 20 wins, 20 knockouts, no losses, no draws, no points. He knocked out every single one of his opponent. He had 100%. Bivol never lost, but his knockout ratio was like 63%. Never lost, but he didn't have the knockout power. It went a distance, and Beterbiev controversially won. It was very controversial. But, it's going to be an interesting one. But for some reason, what I don't understand is probably because it's an undisputed light heavyweight championship, is the undercard, the second undercard, is going to be my favourite, is Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker, for the IBF.
The undercard?
Yeah, they're second.
Even I know about that one.
However, it's undisputed.
I love the name Dubois.
It is not Dubois.
He is another boxer, which he's a good boxer, mainly for his power. I think he's got a 95% knockout ratio. His most recent one being Anthony Joshua, after coming and beating Francis Ngannou. Dubois has power behind him. He's an okay boxer, but he's got power. He's got heart, spirit. He's very good. He's got 2 losses, Joe Joyce and Alexander Usyk, which two losses on his record to a 95% knockout ratio. It's phenomenal, absolutely amazing. But he's more outside the ring, which I love Daniel Dubois for. He is so slow.
He is entertainment gold.
So entertaining. The quotes he comes out with, the quotes he can pull off, are just phenomenal. Joseph Parker, he's older. He's like nearly a decade older than Dubois, so he knows how to do the fight talk, promote a fight, whatnot, all professionally. And Daniel Dubois will stand there and go, "I'm going to fight you. I'm going to beat you." It's just so not.
Kind of gives Chisora vibes. Slightly,
he is. That's why I think Daniel Dubois, Jared Chisora, they're phenomenal outside the ring. But I do genuinely believe Daniel Dubois will win this fight. I do not think in any way. Joseph Parker has lost to a few people, which it doesn't matter as much. It doesn't matter with the losses, but I will say Daniel Dubois' power is just too much for Joseph Parker. He will drop. Joseph Parker can drop, and Daniel Dubois has the power to drop him. So it's hard to say which one's going to be the winner. Joseph Parker is a better boxer, could outbox him, be faster, smarter, win on points, or a late knockout. Or Daniel Dubois could just land one of his punches, could be out in a few rounds. It's hard to say.
So your prediction is, I don't know.
It's what
a prediction. We love to hear it.
It could be the other. Yeah. It could be one. It could be the other.
So out of the 2 people,
it's a 50-50.
It's got to be one of them.
It's got to be one of them. It's got to be one of them.
I started it saying I think Daniel Dubois is going to win.
That's a Will Buxton quote right there.
I said at the start of explaining this fight, I think Daniel Dubois is going to win. That's what I said, and I'm going to stand by it. I think Daniel Dubois has got too much power for Joseph Parker. Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, That's hard.
I think Bivol's going to win.
Bivol, it would be interesting because if Bivol wins, that means they've both got a loss on them. They've both been undisputed. They can have a third match and they can go all out, and the winner is undisputed and wins. However, Bertbeev is too good and probably has too much power for Bivol. He'll go to points again, but I think Bertbeev will probably win that one. Not much more. There's a fight with Zhile Zhang, Ajit Kabil. Zhile Zhang probably wins. His most famous one recently was Deontay Wilder, where Deontay Wilder turned his back.
Oh, is that Big Bang?
Got punched.
Yeah, Big Bang.
But Zhile Zhang just isn't a good enough boxer. He's just not very good. So, Ajit Kabil, I'm going to say, has a win on that one.
Nice.
Yeah. That's all for boxing and UFC coming up.
Now this is where I take it on to, it's either me or you,
I
Chad.
know, how are we going to decide this?
Oh, rock, paper,
Rock, paper,
scissors.
scissors.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay, it's me. So I have one of 3 things to talk about, but I'm going to have to choose, obviously, the one that's going to...
I think you do too. You can do football and darts.
Yeah, I can do football and darts. I was going to bring up I will mention briefly on the Royal Rumble with WWE. I think, as everyone, us 3 have seen him live, I believe John Cena did deserve his moment.
Yeah.
John Cena, classic.
And I do believe he was should have been the rightful winner of the Royal Rumble, just for my childhood.
Sad loss.
Yeah. But I'll start on football. Because
I know where you're going to go with this. You're going to be like, I had the best week this week because I saw Manchester City get embarrassed.
Oh no! So for this, just to explain to this podcast, I am a Derby County fan. So
which has nothing to do with. Oh no, yeah, it does have nothing to do with what you're about to say.
Our best player,
Oh.
Erin Cashin, has left to go to Brighton. By all means, I do not blame him. He deserves it. Premier League standard player. Honestly, it's
Erin
Cashin. It is truly heartbreaking. And then to see Nottingham Forest win 7-0 against Brighton, which is the club Cashin is transferred to.
And really impressive.
It was a very good performance, and it breaks my heart to say it was a good performance. I honest to God, it could. And then, you know what? When we have all these targets, Derby County have all these targets to sign, and we don't get a single one of them. However, we get arguably could be a 13-year-old from Everton.
Yeah.
And our right back is now becoming a right winger because we don't actually have that many options for. Right winger. It's not a very good position for Derby County. However, I would like to talk about the transfer window, and arguably the most successful team, I would say, this transfer window was Aston Villa, who have now got a big signing. I would say is Marcus Rashford.
Oh.
He could use a haircut.
He's also, let's face it, at the minute, not being played by a manager because the manager hates him.
The thing I believe about Marcus Rashford is we've seen him. He's a world-class player, and I think he just needed a boot. I truly believe for the rest of this season, and I believe, I could be wrong about this, but they're going to play him as a number 9.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a striker, which he did not play for Man United. However...
But it's not a massive change for him. It's not like dropping back to midfield. He's going from wing to strike. It's the same.
I truly believe Marcus Rashford for the remainder of this season will be an incredible player, because I feel like now with a big move on him, he has pressure on him, and he does have to perform, because this is a loan deal for option to buy, meaning if he does perform well and they want to keep him, they can. And Aston Villa are currently automatically qualified to the round of 16 of the Champions League. They are also in contendership for top 4 Champions League this season Premier League. I think it's a good move for him. Man United, however, have now lost. How do I put this about Man United? It's not looking good, Brev. It's not. It's not. It's. And also just to follow up, growing up, we did watch a lot of Man United, so we do have a soft spot for them. However,
our dad's Man United.
I'd say dad's a Man United fan. However, my club currently is in a relegation battle. My Premier League, I'd argue, Premier League club is arguably in a relegation battle as well. They're not in a relegation battle. However, they're not the Man United of old, and it is very upsetting to watch this current Man United squad. And then my biggest rivals in Nottingham Forest won 7-0 the other day and are third in the Premier League. So life in football is arguably horrible right now. But we have to bring it up just because it was a massive story in football. Arsenal versus Man City.
That was horrible to watch. Like, it was so horrible.
What's the best way to describe it? Dismantling?
It was horrible.
Yeah, but why were you complaining about it?
Because it was just. I think it's sad because it's like a team that was so good last season. To see them become what they have, like, it was embarrassing. I think just they were walked all over.
It's like when I watch Newcastle versus Man United. It was watching a team who are currently. I think with Man City there is something going on internally because it's the same squad of players, it's the same manager. If it's because I believe Pep Guardiola is going for a divorce, it could be something like that. It could be the breaches finally catching up to them and they are struggling financially. But I'm not really delved into the Man City situation too much. However, it was watching. It looked, from my opinion, watching that game the other day, it was like watching a world-class squad dismantle a mid-table team. And Man City are not a mid-table team, but 5-1. To be fair, the Odegaard goal in the first 2 minutes was just a mistake from the City side.
I will say as well, like, the goals that we did see were impressive goals.
Very impressive,
like, they were very impressive goals, but they were just it was too often, and it just looked easy. Like, they were impressive goals, but they looked easy.
It was it was upsetting as well when City did score. I would say upsetting. I don't care. I prefer Arsenal to City, I'd say. Watching Haaland score and then a 1 minute later Arsenal making it 2-1. It was. I don't know what to say about this City squad at the moment. I truly believe Liverpool will comfortably win this Premier League. They're not slowing down. Salah's on the form of his life. Charlie did say earlier that she believes Forest could be in contendership to win the Premier League.
But I don't think it's fair not to say that they aren't potential. Like, if you're saying Arsenal are in it, I feel like you have to say Forest are in it too.
It slightly reminds me of Brighton a few seasons back when nobody looked at Brighton as a big side and all of a sudden they were fighting for a Champions League spot.
Well, this is what I mean. If you're saying that Arsenal's in it, you have to say that Forest are also in it. I think it's only fair that both of those teams are being looked at.
For me personally, I don't believe Forest have a chance to win the Premier League. I think Liverpool will win it comfortably. Arsenal, if I was to pick a second option, Arsenal, obviously. But I don't see Forest, just as a Derby County fan, being a top Premier League side. It hurts my soul inside to say it or see it, but the football news, there is a lot to talk about. However, the only ones I really dive into is Derby County, but I will be diving into a lot of other clubs. On to the second sport, though. I would like to...
Sorry, just before next sport, can I just mention, as English football fans, Harold Kane has now got more goals than he has matches. He has played 18 matches, got 19 goals and 6 assists.
I will comfortably say Harry Kane is the best striker in the world. Actually, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up for international purposes, We've got under 2 months now, I believe, or is it a month now, where Super Tommy Tuchel will make his England managerial debut. Now, I have mentioned to my lovely siblings that England will win something under this man. England will win something under this man. A Champions League winner. A Bundesliga winner. he's got it. I don't know what it is, but I look at this man and I truly believe it. He with this England squad, with this squad especially, like when your biggest issue is who do you play, Foden, Bellingham, Palmer, and Saka, and you're arguing between them, you've got a squad on your hands, and I am excited for this England performance, and if England somehow fail me again,
which is possible.
Oh, it's not possible. It's likely. Yeah, it's. I don't know whether to cry. I don't know whether to just hang up the boots and never watch. Hang up the boots.
Hang up the boots.
Put down the remote and never watch football again. I truly do believe England will win something under Tommy Tuchel, though, because we're just too good.
You said that with Southgate, so
I never said that with Southgate.
Okay.
Carter Taylor was the one.
Carter said it with Southgate.
I believe Southgate, but I'd also say I don't think we'll have a manager that will achieve what Southgate achieved with England for a very long time, for very, very many tournaments.
We have a dog with us, by the way.
Yeah, if you hear any snoring, it isn't us, it is Ghost.
Now on to the one I think we all want to really deep down talk about. Deep down inside, we all really want to talk about Stephen Bunting.
Oh, for God's sake.
And I will have to bring up the darts. Luke Humphries very comfortably got to the final of the Masters and was put up a very reluctant and I would say motivated Welshman.
Yeah.
As an Englishman as well, I did not want to support the Welshman, but the ferret delivered. However, Humphries still did win.
I mean, if we are talking about that, we also have to mention the absolute surprise with the fact that Littler got walks over by Clayton.
I would not. The issue is when you look at it, and Littler lost with 105 average. That isn't playing bad.
No,
that's the other person playing exceptionally well. And I think Clayton had a brilliant tournament. And I actually would say I'm upset not to see him in the Premier League. I would prefer to see him over Chris Dobie, I'd say.
Ooh.
That's not a controversial take at all.
Just harsh, isn't it, though?
Chris Dobie is not good enough, unfortunately.
Talking of the Premier League, in 2 days' time it kicks off with Chris Dobie and Gerwyn Price being the first games. Controversially, a lot of people believed Nathan Aspinall and Gerwyn Price didn't belong in the Premier League.
Aspinall?
Just
Gerwyn Price is understandable because nobody likes Gerwyn Price. He's good enough to be there.
I adore
nobody
Gerwyn Price. Controversial opinion, but I love Gerwyn Price.
I like Gerwyn Price.
I think
I like the booyah.
There is exact. That's the whole. You're paying this top money, yeah, and you sat there and you're watching game on. They throw, even though it's exceptional darts, yeah. But then you're watching somebody every good double, he is box office.
It's what you want.
Nathan Aspinall is a very likeable guy. You see him the walk on song. And also he's somebody, when you win you feel good because you do like him. So I don't think they're bad choices at all. If you're going performance based, yes, I can understand why you don't want them there, but they put bums in seats. They are entertainment gold. Yeah. However, no, you're interrupting at the wrong time because I need to mention.
Oh no!
I need to mention Stephen Bunting. Oh my God, I can't wait for this. These two will bully me over Stephen Bunting.
However, obsession with him.
It is an obsession. He's good. He's good. He's just nowhere near good enough for you to have the obsession that you do with him.
Obsession.
A world championship semi-finalist.
Your dreams about Stephen Bunting are more concerning, I think.
Yeah.
What, him winning the Premier League?
No, the other dreams that you have about Stephen Bunting.
I was just going to mention, Jesse, that there will be 3 bums in the seats for the Premier League final.
Yes, there will.
That will be the Sibling Ting podcast will be
special,
there. Yeah. I will ask these two. I'm trying to speak as professionally as I was informed before this.
I'm really impressed.
I was informed before this podcast to be as professional as I can be.
I know. We're really going for this, guys.
I know. We're really trying here. Charlie Carter.
Yes.
Premier League final. Who do you think will be the 4 there? Who do you think will
Humphries,
be the 4?
Littler, final.
Yeah.
Again, 2 years running.
Bunting,
I think
Price.
Humphries and Littler.
Brunton and Price.
Same as, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd back that. I think I'd back that.
Yeah, Bunting,
I definitely
Price.
see Bunting. To be honest, actually, I'm going to say Littler Bunting for the final.
Oh, yes, Charlie.
Yeah, Humphries.
Yes.
Humphries.
Well, yeah, but you say that, but Humphries didn't make it all the way in last. Like, he's only,
But he is a world champion.
he is a world champion, but in the last world
He is a
championship, he
Premier
didn't
League
make it to the final.
winner. He's a Premier League winner.
He's
isn't
not
he?
a Premier League winner.
No, it's Littler that's Premier League winner.
Littler's the Premier League
Well,
winner.
I just
see
think when
being Littler
Humphries is on
Bunting.
form and he's throwing good darts, nobody is as good as him. In
I would
darts.
argue...
Nobody.
The thing for me about Luke Humphries and Luke
Do
Littler...
not say Bunting. He is not as good as Humphries.
No, I wasn't going to say... I was going to say I truly believe when Littler's on form, I've never seen anyone like him.
I think the interesting thing about darts, and I will say, like, it's the one thing I've noticed because obviously we've been watching it every single day. But the one thing I've noticed is that, like, it isn't. You know how when you watch football, you can pretty much guarantee which team's going to win. When you watch boxing, you can pretty much guarantee who's probably going to win. Like 8 times out of 10, let's say. With darts, it's so weird because you could watch a match, but if you're just not on your game, someone you think, oh my god, there's no chance he's getting further, actually can be like, Littler going out to Clayton was just not expected.
Case in point, Humphries losing to Peter Wright in the World Championship.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I think it is with darts that is different to what we would say about football, and you could also argue the same with F1 being similar to darts in this aspect, is if a person is not, like, let's say you're the prime Real Madrid and Ronaldo wasn't on form, you're still prime Real Madrid. You'll have a substitute just chuck on.
Yeah.
With darts, it is you on that stage,
Yeah.
and it is only you on that stage. And I would say that, and I would also like to give credit. I'm 21 years of age, and if I was on stage with people shouting at me, whistling, I couldn't even throw. I'd bottle it. Yeah. And we have an 18-year-old who, when he started, what was it, 16. You got to give him credit.
I mean, without question, I think he's brought so much to a sport that reasonably, let's face it, like, you'd play darts when you're drunk in a pub. Like, it wasn't something that reasonably a lot of people would be watching on TV.
I would say it was a big sport.
It was a sport.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was a big sport. I'd say it was like a sport people knew about.
It was just a sport, yeah.
You knew about, like, I remember when I was a kid, Bullseye. Like, you kind of knew about
I think
darts.
Littler did bring it up massively.
Yeah.
And it's funny to say, a sport that revolved around going to the pub with your friends, drinking was brought up and brought famous by a kid that can't drink alcohol. And said when he won the Premier League, did he not say, oh no, he won, he was runner-up on the World Championship, he said, oh, I'll go buy myself a new vape and probably get a kebab. And it was like, because he can't legally drink and go out. That is crazy to me.
Do you know what I do love about darts? There's a community behind it as well.
Yeah.
I feel like there is especially when it comes to football, it's my club's better than your club, or did you see how they performed the other day? Absolutely. And I feel like with darts, it's actually more appreciation for like Clayton. It's not talking like Slater and Littler's name. It's being like, oh, Johnny Clayton had a great tournament. And that's what I love about darts. But on to the predictions, for my personal predictions for the Premier League. As much as I would like Mr. Titanium, Stephen Bunting, to win the Premier League. I
don't think he didn't win. Just to be clear, my prediction.
The three I will have a guess to be in the top 4 will be Littler, Humphries, and Bunting. The spot I'm arguing for is 4th. And I'm not picking Bunting because I like Bunting. He is a good player.
Yeah, he's so impressive.
Very good player. And he's also consistent. He's quite consistently good. The one player
his son is so cute.
Also, this shows how good you are as a player when your son is getting more view time than Michael Smith in the World Championship.
Adorable.
Yeah, I would say 4th. We are missing a certain Michael Van Gerwen.
Yeah,
possibly, but he just recently hasn't performed what he has performed. However,
World Championship final.
But I'd also say that final and this World Championship I don't really count. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Peter Wright beating Luke Humphries threw me off the entire thing, thinking, right, anything could happen. Michael Van Gerwen is young enough and good enough for him to definitely be a winner. He's a contender to win, but I would say he's not as good as previous Michael Van Gerwen has been.
It's still Michael Van Gerwen. It's like if Verstappen fell off even a little bit, you're still not going to write him off, are you? It is still Verstappen. I think for me, I would have to go Humphries, Littler, Bunting, and Van Gerwen to be the four in the final. However, I will say I truly believe that the next coming weeks, that with darts being back on, that I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. I think it's going to be great for sport. Recently signed a deal, so it will be on Sky Sports until 2030. Big up the darts. I feel like everyone's getting into it, and dart fever is taking over, and I am here for it. I am very happy and here for it.
I think it's surprising as well. Like, it's one of those sports that you just don't think is going to be everyone watching it and everyone talking about it, and yet everyone's talking about it. And
do you know what's really funny about it as well? You don't know how much you love it until you watch it. It's
enjoyable.
It's a very enjoyable sport. Like, name another sport where I'm getting asked by my sister, why is Aspinall stopping all of a sudden mid-game? And it's because someone's downing a pint in the crowd. Like, name another sport where you can do that.
I mean, name another sport where you can also, when you are with your siblings discussing what are you going to wear to the actual final.
It's amazing.
Like, it's actually a costume party. You're like, oh my God, what do we wear,
By the way,
guys?
you lot came up with some awful ideas.
I came up with a great idea, but let's save those ideas for when we actually go.
Okay. I will end this on the note of stand up if you love the darts. And you can't see me, but I am stood up right now because what a sport it is, and I'm happy it's taking over.
Okay, so Clark, you're going to have to sit up for this one. Right.
I will sit down for this one.
Yeah, you sit down for this one. Can't sit up for this one. I mean, Jesse, you can still be involved in the... In fact, to be fair, I want you involved in the conversation because this is more...
Jesse, you can name about 4 drivers.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to be talking about motorsport on this one. The main thing being F1 because obviously there's been a lot that's come out recently. First and foremost, we have the fact that Lewis Hamilton has officially joined Ferrari.
He's been seen
driving a Ferrari, which was so weird to see. He's obviously put some incredible photos out there, and the big one was obviously him stood in front of Enzo Ferrari's house with the 7 windows. I mean, looked incredible. There was the 7 windows, and then there was the door, which everyone is obviously saying is sort of like inclination towards the 8th championship. Don't get me wrong. I think, to be honest with you, it's more of a case of there are 7 windows with a door. Like, I don't think Enzo Ferrari had that vision when he built the house.
I don't think the Ferrari team will be like thinking, right, we'll get a picture of Lewis Hamilton. Can we get a construction team real quick?
Yeah, just to change the way this is all lit. But I think that photo is iconic, and I think it's going to go down as one of those photos that everyone talks about because it just looked incredible. But a big thing that I want to talk about, and I kind of do want to get more of a conversation around it, is the fact that the FIA have brought in some rule changes. Now, FIA obviously can do this all the time. Jesse is someone who knows absolutely nothing about F1. I am going to say FIA is basically like the FA for football. You know, they obviously come in with the rules and regulations and things like that. The FIA actually cover F1, the World Rally Championship, the World Endurance Championship, TCR World Tour, World Rallycross Championship, and Formula E. So they actually cover like multiple ones. However, the regulations they brought in are going to directly affect F1 predominantly. It's currently governed by someone called Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Now, he is controversial enough just because he's brought in some really weird and bizarre choices to the sport where I don't reasonably think has been right. Now, the reason the regulations are so controversial this time is because last season we saw quite a lot going on with the whole swearing. So, I mean, footballers obviously are quite known for being reasonably professional. At the end of the day, though, you are talking about racing drivers who are going through an extremely high adrenaline sport where you probably are going to let a few swear words slip over radio. As soon as they're being interviewed, it's literally like half an hour after getting out of a car. Your body is still going to be on that high. I do not understand why it has become such a thing that they can't be normal people.
I personally believe it's because last season Max Verstappen, which is the main guy if we're talking about swearing, and Yuki Tsunoda, Max Verstappen swears a lot in interviews, pre-interviews, during a race on a team radio. I believe that giving these point deductions and bans means other drivers will now get a chance to win, which gets a bigger audience.
I don't think it's Max Verstappen. I don't think it's
swearing.
Max. No.
I think if you take away Max for swearing, it isn't enough time to get point deductions or he gets a ban. You get a few other drivers then, which I don't think was going to happen this season anyway, but in previous seasons, if that was the case, and Max is so far ahead and then gets a ban or point deductions, then other drivers can have a chance of winning, and I think it makes it more interesting, which brings in more money, and I think that's what the FIA
See, I really don't think the FIA are seeing it in that way. Now, I'll explain the ones that have obviously come in, and then you can kind of get an idea of it. So basically, it is any words, deeds, or writings that have caused moral injury or loss to the FIA. This includes members. Now, I think when they're actually saying stuff like this, it's so vague that they can literally say, well, you said this, and it's a thing against the moral of the FIA. It seems to also be almost like a protection thing as well, because I know that a lot of people have had a lot to say about Ben Sulayem. So I definitely think there is something there where it's just obviously a bit more personal, less so than this is good for the sport. At the end of the day, I think it should be fair that if anyone in sports has an issue with someone who's a governing body, we shouldn't be afraid to say, I think they've made a wrong decision. And I feel like this has certainly come about, and it makes it seem almost like you can't say anything bad against the FIA. But the offences, so basically the first offence is €10,000. The second offence is a €20,000 fine with then a 1 month suspension. The third offence is a €30,000 with a 1 month suspension and a deduction of championship points. Now, this was the one that obviously is quite controversial, because at the end of the day, I think it is going to be, how do you judge when is it misconduct and things like that, and words. There's also any misconduct which has the exact same offences. So it's swearing anything that they feel like is against the, as they said, moral injury.
Can I just jump in here and say,
go on.
This is my problem with professionalism in all of sport, to be honest with you. I believe that the only thing that should affect, when you're bringing up then how they can actually get deducted their championship points. Is ridiculous. Because what is swearing doing to affect the game itself? Why can you lose points and affect your actual sport and game for something that doesn't affect? I would understand if you'd lose points. It's like City losing points with the FA breaches. Mm-hmm. If you were to breach financial rules in the F1, or if you were to, I would argue what Verstappen did with Norris, where he tried to run him off the track, I would argue that is something where you could potentially deduct points. But swearing isn't affecting the game of F1. It's more presentability, and I don't believe that.
So how they worded it last time was it was more about swearing in conferences and things like that.
I see.
And it was swearing at people is what they argued. However, when you actually look at what they were being done for, it was more just swearing and being I'd say frustrated with the FIA. It was less so as a, I'm not going to swear on here, but obviously an F so and so or whatever. It was more like a frustration with it, and so they've obviously added the misconduct as a separate one. But I think the words, deeds, and writings that can cause moral injury, I definitely think that is going to be swearing and things like that, and they're not really being very clear as to what they're classing as. Giving examples and that sort of thing. So I definitely think there's an aspect of it almost seems like a protection for the FIA, and it's definitely not like we're worried about how it looks professionally, because apparently they are saying on radio during a race it's a different, as long as it's not at someone, it's a different sort of thing. So I agree with you. I don't think at the end of the day I don't think it affects. No, yeah. And then the other one is the general making and display of political, religious or personal statements or comments, notably in violation of the general principle of neutrality promoted by the FIA. Now, the offences are the exact same, so it's 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 offence fine, as well as having the suspension. However, there's also the addition of also having, for the first and second and third, a public apology and repetition of comments. Now, I thought this was like really bizarre to say that basically, because they feel like a statement you've made, which could be a personal thing, which I feel like is definitely concerning for me when it comes to things like because obviously Lewis is so outspoken on so many amazing causes, but like things like Black Lives Matter, are they going to come out and be like, is that a political statement? Yeah. So then all of a sudden, do you have to apologise for stating something that you believe in? I just don't understand where the FIA is coming from with that one. It almost feels like taking away a personality of a driver to just be like, you have to basically.
It's a horrible example after bringing up such a more professional and but taking personality away from a driver. One of my favourite F1 memes is smooth operator.
I mean, classic.
This is unacceptable.
This is unacceptable.
And hey, I'm just saying that if he's not allowed to sing that, then well, find me, because I think that is the greatest. I mean, I like personality in a people.
Yeah,
like
that's exactly it. Like, there's so many people who I think have like such strong personalities. Like, I mean, could you imagine like the radio messages with Lando? Like, Lando is hilarious with his radio messages, and he's genuinely got like such a good fan base because of that. Because of he's just himself.
Imagine I almost worry. Piastri with the 2.0 Iceman.
Yeah, 2.0 Iceman.
May I ask? Go on. Is the F1, the whole of the F1, is it PG? Is it a notoriously PG sport?
I wouldn't say it's PG. I mean, I think the radio messages tend to be. They always say we're sorry for fruity language, and I think that's so funny, because every time it's said by the commentators, it's always like, we're really sorry for the fruity language, but it's always during radio messages. And I think everyone understands that you are in a high adrenaline sport, and reasonably at certain levels people are going to probably say words that would be considered offensive. I
also believe as like a ratio of like adults to children watching a sport, F1, most of motorsports are definitely watched way more by adults. I don't think children really enjoy the sport, especially over stuff like football and darts. Football and darts are you watch, and there's loads of kids in the crowd, whereas at Formula 1 you won't see it as much. They just don't.
There are kids who enjoy it, but it's definitely... And I also think as well, you have that expectation to a degree that you are probably going to hear a little bit of swearing during the radio messages. And also, like, if they are going to say that in the conferences you cannot swear, then don't do the conferences 30 minutes after a race, because they are still going to be on an adrenaline spike, and they are still not going to have that full concept of, oh my god, did I just swear during a conference? Like, I almost feel bad for them.
I think the same thing is when drivers like straight away finish. They've just gone through 100 mile per hour speed for an hour and a half, 2 hours. They're physically, mentally drained. You can't control what you're saying. I think of it the same as in boxing, where you've just finished a 12-round fight and you've been punching, the adrenaline's running, you're tired, mentally, physically drained, and then people come up and go, so what's next on your thing? And you can't say,
leave me alone. Like,
football, I suppose, is different, because football, the fitness is there and it's less so.
I think for me,
but I think for like boxing, but like Formula 1 as well, going 100 miles per hour and then going. So, what do you think about what that other team said?
Yeah.
Don't ask them that.
To be fair as well, there has to be also that aspect of sometimes I think the questions are almost leading to getting your spirits back up too high.
I would say though about in this swearing in all sports, I think it's unfair that when you sometimes see the big news, like they busted out like a swear word,
swear jar.
It's like even now, like currently on this podcast, we're trying to avoid swearing.
Yeah.
By the way, I would not be
hard.
If they allowed me to speak how I'd normally speak. It would not be as professional or as PG as.
I think every other word that comes out of my mouth would be
Did we agree that we're not swearing?
Charlie informed us.
Yeah, I think it's not good. We need to be good, okay? Because we want this to be good.
But going back to
we want to be popular, and we can't be popular by being like every other word F. So it won't get played anywhere.
I think when this is first released and we get the comments being like, "Yeah, you can swear," I am busting out every word in the dictionary.
However, we're not.
and I'm not going to speak like this. I will speak more like a gangster would. Going back to the sport, we swear in all the sports. I think it's ridiculous because it's like Jamie Vardy, for example. He's not my favourite striker of all time, but as far as personality goes, he's definitely up there. Some of the stuff he does, taunting fans, I just think don't take it so personally, or especially with this swearing. It's not something that is as deep as people make it, and I think affecting your actual physical game in the sport of F1
race.
I'd say I call it a sport.
It's not game.
The race, sorry.
The match.
It's actually, I would say, affecting your professional career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
does that sound professional though?
Nice.
Yeah.
I think all sports in general, it's not like singing or acting. Actresses and actors and stuff. They're
just real people in that moment who just probably have slips.
Like a sportsman. A sports personality, the adrenaline's going. If you're acting on the screen, you can have a bit of adrenaline going, but you're not puffing and panting because of how hard the game is. You're not mentally stuck in something for an hour and a half, 2 hours, constantly. And the physicality, you're physically working out very strict, very hard for like 2 hours straight. You're gonna be absolutely exhausted, and the swearing, come on.
I think we're focusing. I think everyone's focusing on the swearing aspect, and I think to be fair, there is a chance that the FIA are being a little bit subtle about it, and it might be a case that they are going to kind of bring out a little bit more. Yeah. And obviously, this is only what I think has been released more. Obviously, the drivers might have more of an understanding of it. The teams might have more of an understanding of it than what we do. And obviously, I think as well, interpretation of the rules and things like that might differ from person to person. I just think from seeing how it was handled last season, there is going to be that focus when it comes to the rule changes, when it comes to swearing and how you present yourself. And I think there has to be more conversation towards that. And I'm sure George Russell is on it in his little princess way and being like, we are going to have discussions about this at the drivers' meeting.
George Russell, sure. But I think Max Verstappen's the second worst for swearing.
Well, no, because George Russell runs obviously the Drivers' Association, so he's going to be like, "Don't you worry, boys, I have got you." And I trust in George. I trust George will have more.
I don't trust him for Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda is the worst for swearing.
I feel so bad for Yuki.
But you know what? If the fact is,
he deserves to swear this season as well.
You don't. Oh yeah, 100%. Imagine. Is it Lawson?
Lawson.
Imagine Lawson overtaking Tsunoda.
He's going to have
looking
words
at that Red
to
Bull
say.
Thinking, I deserve that seat.
I should be there.
He swears as it is. I think the FIA should just be like, the ban is for everyone except Yuki Tsunoda.
I would also like to just jump in, switching sports by a little bit. But,
oh God, right, okay.
The Six Nations kicked off.
Yes,
and England unfortunately did not kick off to a great start.
No, but there's always. I mean, I love how we're trying to discuss this. Just to be clear to everyone,
I watch rugby.
We are going to try to watch as many sports as possible. Let me be clear when I say though, you will not catch us chatting about cricket or golf. We cannot. We've tried our hardest.
We've given it a go.
We've all tried.
If we're here talking about sports, I'm going to just throw something in. The Super Bowl is this Sunday. The 9th of Feb. It's this Sunday. You've got. Do you guys remember the teams?
Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Which is Charlie's team.
It's the only reason I know it because of Taylor Swift.
And the
that's
Eagles.
the only reason.
So that'll be interesting. I'll watch that. It's a Sunday. It'll be like early morning or something. So I'll see I'll give it a watch.
I think we've actually got a lot. We've got Champions League round 32 starting next week. We've got in 2 days' time the Darts Premier League kicking off.
We are going to also have the F1 release of all the car liveries, which is going to be so exciting, and I can't wait to talk about that.
Carter mentioned we've got a lot coming up. To be fair, but I think in the world of sports, there is one man who shines above all.
If you say Stephen
as
Bunting,
as an athlete, and I believe that's Stephen Bunting.
Let's end it before Jesse goes on his little Stephen Bunting dream trip. Okay, so just to be clear, we're so happy that we've been able to start our first podcast and our first episode for our podcast.
Yeah.
We have been able to discuss. Carter's had a full discussion about boxing and UFC, which I know he's going to be so happy about.
Yeah.
Jesse has obviously discussed so much when it comes to football.
I would like to make it clear.
And even mentioned WWE.
Before she finishes this outro, we did film more of a practice podcast previous to this
to see if we could handle it as siblings to sit together.
The reason Cart was allowed to talk as long as he has is because I got informed that I'm not allowed to quit in front of him.
I actually got words in this time, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, I'm very proud of you, Jesse. You did so well. We've obviously discussed the FIA rule changes, and we've even been able to get in there the fact that American football is going on and rugby, which I'm so proud of us because we genuinely didn't think we'd have time. Have we got anything else we'd like to add?
I would like to hear personally from the audience their opinions.
Not right now.
Well, I'm talking
audience,
about.
I want to hear right now.
Not currently at this moment.
We'll pause for 20 minutes so you can speak to us.
Wait.
No.
I would like to hear. I want to hear everything. I want to hear your current. If there's any current ones, I want to hear your most insane football takes, your most insane F1 take.
I want F1 hot takes. I want MotoGP hot takes. That is what I want this season.
Anything sports related, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Or if there's any subject you'd like us to talk about. I personally have an idea to do a podcast about the craziest sports facts.
Wow, we could do a special.
Do a
special.
So we'd just love to hear from you. That's
absolutely.
So we will round this up by saying thank you ever so much for listening. If you've made it all the way through this podcast,
I've got it. Lights off.
No, please stop.
Okay.
Please go and follow us on Insta, TikTok, and as Jessie was saying, tell us your thoughts, your questions, your predictions, any of your hot takes for any of the sports that we've mentioned. You know what? Throw it in there. Talk about cricket and golf if you want to. We won't care, but we will listen to your hot take.
We won't like you.
Jesse,
we will listen to your hot
by
take.
the way, guys, have an absolutely perfect outro noise.
Oh God! Right.
I would like Jesse to have a whistle and do the 3 whistles for football when a football match ends. Okay, he's going to give it a go. He can't whistle.
Oh
but
Jesus, he can't. Oh God, perfect, the dog is now terrified.
Perfect.
Thank you ever so much for listening. Thank you for coming to the end of this podcast. Thank you for listening to our first podcast. As we said, follow us on our socials. And we will see you next time.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye.